The moment Adrian Blackwood saw the message on his wife's phone, the entire world around him went silent. Not because he was heartbroken, not because he was shocked, but because the woman he loved more than his empire had just made the biggest mistake of her life. And, instead of screaming, instead of confronting her, the billionaire smiled. That smile terrified everyone, because nobody knew Adrian Blackwood better than the people closest to him. And they all understood one thing. When Adrian smiled during betrayal, someone's life was about to collapse. Tonight, his cheating wife thought she had everything under control. By the end of this story, she would lose everything she thought money could protect. Stay until the end, because the final punishment Adrian gives her is something nobody saw coming. Love built Adrian Blackwood. Betrayal destroyed him. For 10 years, Adrian gave his wife, Sophia, the kind of life most people only dream about. Private jets, luxury vacations, designer diamonds, a mansion overlooking the ocean. But while Adrian spent his nights building a billion-dollar empire, Sophia spent hers destroying their marriage in secret. She thought she was playing a dangerous game. What she didn't realize was that Adrian had already learned every move she would make before she made it. And when a billionaire decides to stop loving and start calculating, the consequences become deadly. This is not just a story about cheating. It's a story about power, regret, revenge, and the terrifying moment a good man finally stops being merciful. Welcome back to the channel. If you love emotional billionaire stories filled with shocking betrayal, intense revenge, powerful twists, and endings that leave you speechless, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because today's story is one of the most emotional stories we've ever told. And trust me, the ending will completely change how you see loyalty forever. Now let's begin. Adrian Blackwood never checked his wife's phone. Not once in 10 years. Trust was one of the few things he believed money could never buy. That was why the message hurt more than betrayal itself. It happened during a charity gala at the Blackwood Grand Hotel. The ballroom glowed under crystal chandeliers while politicians, celebrities, and billionaires laughed over champagne. Sophia stood beside Adrian in a silver dress that made cameras follow her everywhere she moved. To the world, they looked perfect, untouchable, powerful. But perfection is usually where the ugliest secrets hide. Sophia smiled at reporters, while Adrian spoke with investors about a billion-dollar merger. Then her phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen. For a fraction of a second, panic crossed her face. Adrian noticed. He noticed everything. Sophia quickly locked the screen and excused herself. But she forgot one thing. Her smartwatch mirrored her notifications, and the message appeared clearly under the expensive diamonds around her wrist. "I missed last night already." Adrian froze. The room suddenly felt colder. Another message followed. "When are you telling him?" His eyes slowly lifted toward Sophia as she disappeared into the crowd. His chest tightened. Not from anger, from disbelief. Because the woman he trusted with his soul had just shattered 10 years of loyalty in less than 3 seconds. Most men would have exploded immediately. Adrian didn't. Instead, he smiled. A small smile. Controlled. Dangerous. His best friend Marcus saw it instantly, and fear entered his face. "Adrian," Marcus whispered carefully. But Adrian raised one hand. "Not here." That calmness was worse than rage. Marcus had known Adrian since college. He knew exactly what that expression meant. Adrian was thinking, calculating, planning. And when Adrian Blackwood started planning, people suffered. Across the ballroom, Sophia returned with a fake smile. She kissed Adrian on the cheek. "Sorry," she said softly. "One of my friends needed help." Adrian stared into her eyes. She lied beautifully, almost professionally. And somehow that hurt even more. Because this wasn't a mistake. This was practice. "How thoughtful of you," Adrian replied calmly. Sophia relaxed instantly. She thought she was safe. That was her second mistake. The gala continued. Music played. People danced. Investors celebrated another Blackwood success. But Adrian barely heard any of it. Inside his mind, 10 years replayed like broken glass. Every late-night excuse. Every mysterious phone call. Every sudden trip. every moment he ignored because love made him blind. By midnight, Adrian had already made a decision. He would not scream. He would not beg. And he definitely would not forgive. No. Sophia wanted secrets. So Adrian decided to give her one final secret of his own. He was going to let her destroy herself. Slowly, painfully, publicly, without her even realizing it. When they arrived home that night, Sophia stepped into their massive oceanfront mansion and removed her heels. "You're quiet tonight," she said. Adrian loosened his tie calmly. "Just tired." She walked closer. "You work too much." The irony almost made him laugh. This woman was cheating on him while pretending to worry about his health. He looked at her carefully. Sophia was beautiful. But for the first time in years, he saw something uglier underneath. Greed, dishonesty, disrespect, and entitlement. She thought his love made her untouchable. That illusion was about to end. Sophia kissed him softly before heading upstairs. The moment she disappeared, Adrian's expression changed. Cold, sharp, emotionless. He picked up his phone. "Marcus," he said quietly. "I need everything." Marcus understood immediately. "You sure?" Adrian stared toward the staircase where Sophia had vanished. "I've never been more sure about anything." Within hours, private investigators began digging into Sophia's life. And what they discovered shocked even Adrian. This wasn't one affair. It was several. Several men. Several lies. Several years. One woman. One marriage. Completely fake. By sunrise, Adrian sat alone in his office, staring at photographs spread across his desk. Sophia kissing another man in Paris. Sophia entering a luxury apartment downtown. Sophia laughing beside a younger man on a yacht Adrian paid for. Each image stabbed deeper than the last. But Adrian never cried, because something inside him had already died, and dead things don't feel pain anymore. Sophia woke up the next morning believing she was still in control. That illusion lasted exactly 12 minutes. The sunlight poured through the massive bedroom windows while she scrolled through social media beside Adrian. Thousands of comments praised them as the perfect billionaire couple. She smiled proudly. Meanwhile, Adrian quietly watched her from the bathroom mirror. The woman lying in his bed had spent years performing a role, and she deserved an award for it. Not once had she slipped badly enough for him to suspect anything. That level of deception required planning, discipline, practice, which meant one horrifying truth. Sophia had never accidentally betrayed him. She chose betrayal every single day. "Breakfast meeting?" she asked sweetly. Adrian adjusted his cufflinks. "Yes, with Marcus." He paused slightly. Sophia noticed details. "That was dangerous." "Yes," he answered smoothly. She nodded and kissed his cheek. "Don't work too hard." Again, another fake act. Another lie wrapped in affection. But Adrian played along perfectly, because predators hunt best when prey feels safe. As soon as Adrian left the mansion, Sophia grabbed her phone. A smile instantly appeared on her face. Not the polished smile she gave cameras. A different one. Excited. Alive. Adrian watched through hidden security footage from his office downtown. And for the first time in years, he realized his wife had never smiled at him that way. That realization hurt more than the cheating. Sophia quickly changed clothes into something far more revealing before leaving the mansion. A black sports car picked her up. The driver wasn't a chauffeur. It was a man named Tyler Reed, 28 years old, fitness entrepreneur, social media celebrity, and apparently foolish enough to sleep with a billionaire's wife. Marcus sat across from Adrian, reviewing reports. "You want me to handle him?" Marcus asked. Adrian shook his head. "No." Marcus frowned. "Why not?" Adrian's eyes remained fixed on the footage. "Because men like Tyler aren't the real problem." Marcus stayed silent. He knew Adrian was right. Tyler was temporary. Sophia was permanent. Or, at least she used to be. The footage continued. Sophia laughed while Tyler touched her waist inside an expensive rooftop restaurant. No guilt. No fear. No hesitation. Just comfort. Which meant this affair had gone far beyond excitement. She felt secure. Protected. That confidence fascinated Adrian. How long had she believed he was stupid? How long had she laughed behind his back? And worst of all, how many people secretly knew? That question became even uglier later that afternoon. Adrian attended a private business luncheon where two wealthy couples suddenly looked uncomfortable around him. Too uncomfortable. One man avoided eye contact completely. Another woman looked sympathetic. And then Adrian understood. People knew. Not everyone, but enough. Enough to gossip. Enough to pity him. The billionaire who built empires couldn't even control his own marriage. Humiliation burned beneath his calm exterior. Yet Adrian smiled through every conversation, because humiliation could be useful. Humiliation created patience, and patience created devastating revenge. That evening, Sophia returned home pretending nothing happened. "Dinner tonight?" she asked cheerfully. "Actually," Adrian replied, "I booked us something special tomorrow." "Adrian, please." "I made mistakes," Sophia whispered. "Mistakes?" Adrian repeated softly. The way he said the word made her feel small. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is saying something cruel during an argument. He leaned back slowly. "You built an entirely separate life behind my back." Sophia's breathing became uneven. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Adrian almost laughed. Cheaters always said that. As if betrayal accidentally appeared out of nowhere. As if years of lies somehow slipped and fell into existence. "You know the most interesting part?" Adrian continued calmly. "I spent years believing I was protecting you from the world." Sophia lowered her eyes. "But the whole time," Adrian said quietly, "the real danger was sleeping beside me." The silence became suffocating. Outside the mansion windows, waves crashed violently against the dark cliffs below. Sophia suddenly realized how little she truly understood her husband. The media called Adrian Blackwood ruthless in business. Competitors feared him. Executives obeyed him. But at home, he had always been gentle, patient, controlled. Until now. Now she was seeing the man the business world feared. And that terrified her more than screaming ever could. "I ended it," Sophia lied quickly. Adrian tilted his head slightly. "With which one?" Her face lost all color. Another trap. Another reminder that he knew far more than she expected. "You investigated everything," she whispered. "No," Adrian corrected softly. "I uncovered everything." Then he stood. "I have meetings tomorrow." "That's it?" Sophia asked in disbelief. "You're just going to sleep?" Adrian looked at her with emotionless eyes. "You already destroyed the marriage, Sophia. There's nothing left to argue about." Then he walked upstairs calmly, leaving her alone beside the dying fire. And for the first time since meeting Adrian Blackwood, Sophia felt powerless. The next morning, panic finally overwhelmed her. She drove straight to Tyler's apartment. Tyler opened the door, shirtless, irritated. "You're here early." "He knows," Sophia snapped. Tyler's expression changed instantly. "How much?" "Everything." "That's impossible." Sophia stepped inside anxiously. "He showed me bank records." Tyler cursed under his breath. Then something ugly appeared in his face. Not concern for her. Concern for himself. "You told me your husband never checked anything." "He trusted me." Tyler laughed nervously. "Rich men are stupid when they're in love." Sophia suddenly hated the way he said it. Because for the first time, she heard the disrespect beneath his charm. Tyler never admired Adrian. He envied him. And maybe he enjoyed humiliating him. That realization made her stomach twist. "What do we do?" she asked quietly. Tyler walked toward the kitchen. "Nothing." "What?" "He won't risk a public scandal." Sophia stared at him. "You didn't see his face." Tyler rolled his eyes. Billionaires care about reputation more than revenge. Unfortunately for Tyler, Adrian Blackwood cared about both. At Blackwood International Headquarters, Marcus entered Adrian's office carefully. "You're being watched," he warned. "By who?" "Board members. Investors. Your legal team." Adrian nodded slowly. News traveled fast around powerful people, especially weakness. "They think I'm unstable now," Adrian said. Marcus stayed silent. "Good." Marcus frowned. "Good." Adrian turned toward the massive city skyline behind him. When people underestimate you, they stop preparing for you. Then Adrian handed Marcus a folder. Marcus opened it slowly, and his eyes widened. Adrian. Inside the folder were acquisition documents. Tyler Reed's company. Every debt, every investor, every weakness. You're buying his company? Marcus asked carefully. No. Adrian smiled coldly. I'm destroying it. That same afternoon, Tyler arrived at his office, expecting another normal day. Instead, chaos greeted him. Employees whispering nervously. Phones ringing nonstop. Investors demanding emergency meetings. His assistant rushed toward him. 3 sponsors pulled out this morning. What? And 2 banks froze negotiations. Tyler's confidence cracked instantly. That doesn't make sense. But deep down, he already knew. Adrian. The realization hit him like ice water. Tyler grabbed his phone and called Sophia immediately. He's coming after me. Sophia's heart dropped. What happened? My sponsors disappeared overnight. Fear finally became real. Because, until now, the affair felt exciting, secretive, dangerous in a thrilling way. But this was consequences. And consequences weren't romantic. That evening, Adrian returned home to find Sophia waiting anxiously in the living room. We need to talk, she said immediately. Adrian loosened his tie calmly. I agree. Sophia stepped closer. Please stop this. Stop what? You know exactly what. Adrian studied her face quietly. Interesting. For the first time in weeks, she looked more afraid for Tyler than herself. That told Adrian everything he needed to know. You love him, Adrian said softly. Sophia froze. No. Don't lie again. The sharpness in his voice silenced her instantly. Adrian walked toward the bar and poured himself a drink. His first one in days. I gave you everything, he said quietly. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Adrian. No. Listen carefully. His voice became colder. You betrayed me emotionally, financially, publicly. Every word landed like a hammer. And somehow, Adrian continued, you still believe you deserve mercy. Sophia began crying. Real tears this time. But Adrian felt nothing watching them. Because betrayal changes love into something unrecognizable. You're scaring me, she whispered. Adrian looked directly into her eyes. Good. Then he placed divorce papers on the table. Sophia stared at them in horror. No. You wanted freedom, Adrian said calmly. Now you have it. She shook her head desperately. You can't do this. Adrian almost smiled. The irony was unbelievable. She cheated for years. Yet somehow she still thought she controlled the ending. I can do much worse, Adrian replied quietly. And deep down, Sophia finally believed him. Sophia stared at the divorce papers like they were a death sentence. Because, in many ways, they were. Not just the end of a marriage, the end of protection, the end of privilege, the end of a life she spent 10 years building beside one of the most powerful men in the world. You're serious, she whispered. Adrian calmly sipped his drink. I stopped joking the moment I discovered who you really are. Sophia's hands trembled as she flipped through the documents. Every page was brutal, precise, calculated. She would keep almost nothing. The mansion belonged to Adrian. The vacation properties belonged to Blackwood Holdings. The luxury vehicles were company assets. Even several jewelry collections were legally registered through corporate insurance structures. Sophia suddenly realized something horrifying. She had spent years living inside Adrian's empire without ever understanding how carefully he controlled it. You planned this, she whispered. Adrian looked at her coldly. I built contingency plans for enemies years ago. Pause. I just never expected my wife to become one. The words sliced deeper than shouting ever could. Sophia looked up desperately. Please, we can fix this. No, Adrian replied instantly. We can't. But you still love me. That made him smile, slightly. Not warmly. Not emotionally. Dangerously. You're confusing love with access. Sophia's chest tightened. Adrian, you stopped being my wife the moment another man touched you while wearing my last name. The room fell silent again. Outside, thunder rolled across the ocean. Even the weather felt hostile tonight. Sophia's voice cracked. What happens now? Adrian leaned back slowly. Now, his eyes locked onto hers. Now you experience life without me protecting you from consequences. The next morning, financial news exploded across social media. Tyler Reed Fitness under investigation for fraud allegations. Investors abandon social media entrepreneur. Major sponsors cut ties over internal audits. Tyler sat frozen inside his office reading headline after headline. Sweat covered his forehead. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Lawyers, investors, partners, everyone wanted answers. But Tyler already knew the truth. Adrian Blackwood had started the war, and Tyler was losing badly. What do we do? His assistant asked nervously. Tyler slammed his fist against the desk. Find out who's behind this. But deep down, he already knew. Billionaires didn't destroy people loudly. They destroyed systems quietly until victims collapsed under invisible pressure. And Adrian was a master at it. Meanwhile, Sophia's life started unraveling in smaller ways. Subtle ways. Terrifying ways. Her premium credit cards suddenly stopped working. Private club memberships became temporarily suspended. Luxury boutiques that once treated her like royalty suddenly became distant and formal. Even friends stopped answering calls immediately. At first, Sophia blamed coincidence. Then, reality hit. People weren't loyal to her. They were loyal to Adrian. And now that Adrian had withdrawn his protection, she was becoming socially radioactive. The realization terrified her. For years, she believed she was powerful, independent, untouchable. Now she understood something ugly. Most of her status had been borrowed from the man she betrayed. That evening, Sophia arrived at a high-profile charity event alone. Normally, cameras chased her instantly. Tonight, whispers followed her instead. People stared. Some looked sympathetic. Others looked entertained. Humiliation burned beneath her skin. Then she overheard two women speaking nearby. I heard Adrian finally found out. She's finished. Sophia immediately turned toward them, but they walked away pretending nothing happened. Her breathing became uneven. The scandal was spreading fast, and if the elite social world smelled weakness, they devoured it. Sophia suddenly spotted Marcus across the ballroom. She rushed toward him desperately. Marcus, please, she whispered. You have to help me. Marcus looked uncomfortable. You should leave, Sophia. Please just talk to Adrian. Marcus sighed heavily. You still don't understand what you did. Tears filled her eyes again. I made mistakes. Marcus stared at her carefully. No, he said quietly. You underestimated someone who gave you unconditional trust. That hit harder than insults. Because it was true. Marcus lowered his voice. You broke the one thing Adrian valued more than money. What? Loyalty. Then Marcus walked away, leaving Sophia standing alone in a room full of people who suddenly viewed her like a collapsing stock. Damaged. Risky. Finished. Later that night, Adrian sat alone inside his penthouse office overlooking the city. The lights below looked cold and distant, just like him now. Marcus entered quietly. She's falling apart. Adrian didn't respond immediately. Does that bother you? Marcus asked carefully. Adrian stared through the glass windows. I honestly don't know anymore. And that frightened even him. Because Adrian Blackwood used to feel everything deeply. Love, compassion, empathy. Now, everything felt numb. Like betrayal had burned away parts of him permanently. Marcus sat across from him. You could still end this quietly. Adrian smiled faintly. She had years to end it quietly. Marcus couldn't argue with that. Then Adrian's phone buzzed. A new report arrived from investigators. And the moment Adrian read it, his expression darkened completely. Marcus noticed immediately. What happened? Adrian slowly lowered the tablet. She's pregnant. The room went silent. Marcus froze. Oh God. But Adrian's face showed no emotion. No anger. No sadness. Just something terrifyingly calm. Do you think it's yours? Marcus asked carefully. Adrian looked out across the city again. Then he whispered the words that changed everything. I don't think I ever truly knew my wife at all. Sophia sat alone inside the guest bedroom, staring at the pregnancy test in her shaking hands. Positive. Again. The second confirmation should have made things real. Instead, it made everything terrifying, because she no longer knew whose child she carried, and that uncertainty could destroy what little remained of her life. Outside the bedroom, the mansion felt colder than ever. Adrian hadn't slept beside her in days. He barely spoke unless necessary, and somehow his silence hurt worse than screaming. Sophia pressed trembling fingers against her forehead. How had everything collapsed this fast? Just weeks ago she had luxury, security, attention, excitement. Now she lived inside a mansion that felt like a prison, and the man who once worshipped her looked at her like a stranger. Her phone vibrated suddenly. Tyler. Did you tell him yet? Sophia closed her eyes painfully. No. Well, you need to. She noticed something immediately. No concern. No comfort. Just pressure. Fear slowly crept into her chest. What if it's Adrian's? She whispered. Tyler stayed silent for 2 seconds too long. Then he finally spoke. You know billionaires, if he thinks the kid is his, he'll calm down. Sophia's stomach twisted instantly. That sentence revealed everything. Tyler wasn't thinking about love. He was thinking about survival. And for the first time since the affair began, Sophia realized she may have destroyed her marriage for a man who never truly cared about her. Across the city, Adrian sat inside a private conference room while attorneys reviewed divorce strategies. But his mind remained elsewhere. Pregnant. The word echoed endlessly inside his head. One possibility haunted him more than betrayal itself. What if the child was his? The thought hurt in ways Adrian couldn't explain. Because despite everything, some part of him still remembered the woman he fell in love with 10 years ago. Marcus studied him carefully. You okay? Adrian laughed quietly. No. The honesty surprised even him. Marcus leaned forward. You need a DNA test. I know. But Adrian stared down at the city below. But if the child is mine. He stopped talking, because he didn't know how to finish the sentence. Would he forgive her? Impossible. Would he stay? Never. But walking away from his own child? That thought tore through him. Marcus finally spoke softly. You're still human, Adrian. Adrian smiled bitterly. That's the problem. That evening, Sophia found Adrian standing alone on the balcony overlooking the ocean. Wind moved through his dark suit, while thunderclouds gathered above the water. He looked powerful, untouchable, and suddenly Sophia remembered exactly why she fell in love with him. Not the money, not the fame, the stability. Adrian always made the world feel safe, until she destroyed that safety herself. We need to talk, she whispered. Adrian didn't turn around. I'm pregnant. Silence. The waves crashed violently below. Then Adrian finally spoke. Are you? His calmness shattered her. You don't believe me? I believe you're pregnant, Adrian replied quietly. Pause. I just don't know who the father is. Sophia felt tears forming instantly. That's not fair. Adrian slowly turned toward her. For the first time in days, emotion finally appeared in his eyes. Pain. Raw and deep. Fair, he repeated softly. You cheated on me with multiple men for years. His voice remained controlled, but underneath it lived something broken. And now you want to talk about fair? Sophia cried openly now. I never wanted this to happen. But it did. Another silence. Then Adrian asked the question she feared most. Does Tyler know? Sophia hesitated. Tiny mistake. Huge consequence. Adrian noticed immediately. That hesitation answered everything. No. You ran to him already. Sophia's breathing became uneven. Adrian laughed quietly to himself. Not because anything was funny. The next morning, Tyler Reed's world collapsed publicly. Federal investigators arrived at his office. Employees recorded videos as agents carried boxes of documents through the lobby. News helicopters circled above the building. Social media exploded instantly. Tyler Reed under federal investigation. Sponsors claim financial misconduct. Inside the fall of a social media star, Tyler panicked. He immediately called Sophia. "This is your husband." Sophia gripped the phone tightly. "Lower your voice. He's destroying my life." Sophia closed her eyes. "No, you destroyed your own life." The moment she said it, she realized something important. For months, she blamed Adrian for being distant, busy, cold. But Tyler? Tyler only loved excitement, attention, access to wealth and status. The illusion had finally shattered, and she hated herself for not seeing it sooner. Tyler's voice became desperate. "You need to fix this." Sophia almost laughed through her tears. Fix this? She couldn't even fix herself anymore. Later that afternoon, Adrian received the DNA appointment confirmation from his legal team. Sophia would take the test tomorrow. The results would arrive within 48 hours. 48 hours. That was all standing between Adrian and the truth. He stared at the city skyline from his office. Everything he built suddenly felt meaningless. Money couldn't buy loyalty. Power couldn't prevent betrayal. And love apparently blinded intelligent people faster than anything else. Marcus entered carefully. "She's falling apart." Adrian nodded once. "So am I." Marcus stayed silent, because there was nothing left to say. And deep down, everyone around Adrian Blackwood understood something terrifying. The DNA results would decide whether the story ended with revenge or complete destruction. The 48 hours felt endless. For Adrian, every minute became torture. For Sophia, every second felt like Judgment Day. Neither of them slept properly. Neither of them ate much. And inside the massive oceanfront mansion, silence replaced what used to be love. The house no longer felt alive. It felt haunted. Haunted by lies, by memories, by the ruins of a marriage neither of them knew how to save anymore. Sophia sat alone in the kitchen early that morning, staring at untouched coffee. Her reflection in the dark window barely looked familiar now. The confident billionaire wife was gone. In her place sat a frightened woman, realizing too late how badly she destroyed her own future. Then Adrian entered quietly. Perfect suit, calm expression, cold eyes. Sophia stood immediately. Did the results come? Adrian didn't answer. That silence alone nearly stopped her heart. He slowly placed an envelope on the marble counter. Sophia's breathing became uneven. Neither of them touched it immediately, because once the envelope opened, nothing would ever be the same again. Finally, Adrian spoke. "You open it." Sophia stared at him. "You don't want to?" Adrian's jaw tightened slightly. "I've spent days preparing myself for every possible outcome." Pause. But somehow none of them feel survivable. The pain in his voice hit her harder than anger ever could. With trembling hands, Sophia slowly opened the envelope. Her vision blurred instantly from panic. Then she saw the words. "Probability of paternity, 99.9%. Sophia covered her mouth. Tears exploded from her eyes immediately. "It's yours." Adrian didn't move, didn't speak, didn't react at all. And somehow that terrified her more than rage. Because inside Adrian Blackwood, an emotional war had just begun. For several seconds, the room remained completely silent. Then Adrian slowly sat down. Like the weight of the world suddenly became too heavy to carry standing up. His child. The baby was his. Sophia stepped closer carefully. "Adrian." He raised one hand instantly. Not aggressive, just exhausted. "Don't." His voice sounded hollow, broken in places she had never heard before. Sophia cried harder. "I'm sorry." Adrian laughed quietly, not mockingly, painfully. "Do you know how many times you said that this week?" She couldn't answer, because there was no answer good enough. Adrian stared at the DNA paper again. For the first time since discovering the affair, real emotion finally cracked through his cold exterior. Not anger, heartbreak. Pure heartbreak. "I was ready to walk away from everything," he admitted quietly. Sophia froze. "And part of me hated myself for still hoping the child was mine." His eyes slowly lifted toward her. "That's what betrayal does. It makes love feel humiliating." Sophia felt like she couldn't breathe anymore. Because even now, even after everything, Adrian's pain still came from loving her too much. Meanwhile, Tyler Reed sat inside a lawyer's office, watching his career collapse in real time. Frozen bank accounts, canceled partnerships, pending lawsuits, sponsors abandoning him publicly. Everything was falling apart. "You need to disappear for a while," his lawyer warned. Tyler slammed his hands against the desk. "This is because of Adrian Blackwood." "No," the lawyer replied calmly. "This is because you targeted a billionaire's wife while committing financial fraud." Tyler's face darkened. For the first time, fear fully replaced arrogance. Because he finally understood something important. Adrian wasn't emotional anymore. He was strategic. And strategic enemies were the most dangerous kind. Back at the mansion, Sophia cautiously approached Adrian again later that evening. He stood beside the nursery room they once planned to renovate years ago. Before miscarriages, before distance, before betrayal destroyed everything. Sophia's voice cracked softly. "You kept the room." Adrian stared inside silently. "We picked paint colors together." The memory hurt both of them instantly. Sophia broke down crying again. Because she remembered that day perfectly. Adrian laughing while holding color samples. Talking about future children, future birthdays, future memories. A future she eventually shattered herself. "I hate myself," she whispered. Adrian closed his eyes briefly. "You should." The honesty stunned her. But he continued quietly. "Because I don't think you truly understood what you were destroying until it was gone." Sophia couldn't argue with that. Because he was right. Affairs felt exciting when consequences weren't real. Now every consequence stood directly in front of her.